21st century. We request everyone to participate in the validity section too. Today's session is centered around a powerful and insightful theme, reimagining management education, insight from Indic wisdom. We are delighted to welcome our guest, Dr. M.R. Bhavani, professor at the School of Management Science, Chanakya University, Bangalore. Dr. Bhavani is a seasoned academic and visionary leader known for integrate Indic wisdom into modern management education. With a vast experience in her higher education and a strong commitment to the student-centric learning, she continues to inspire innovation and holistic development in academic spaces. We are honored to have her with us and looking forward for her insights. Now, I'm delightful to welcome our today's chief guest, Dr. M.R. Bhavani, to lead this session. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers. Am I audible to you?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So at the outset, I'm absolutely honored to be with all of you this evening. And thank you for the opportunity provided to share some of my thoughts. This is a very interesting session for me because my journey into Indic wisdom and blending that with management started 3 years ago. Otherwise, I was another faculty in the management education space over 23 years. My journey into the university where I work currently is something that inspired me to start blending Indic wisdom with whatever we are teaching inside the university. And I teach courses in management, strategy, and that's how I started blending Indic wisdom. Please give me a moment while I share my screen. Just 1 minute.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Just a minute. Sometimes this technology can play around. Yeah, 1 minute. Do let me know once I share. Yes. Do let me know if it is visible to you.
Yeah, visible, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Thank you. So, welcome you all once again. And I'm going to take you through a journey of what I have looked at in my campus. And I've been successfully doing this for the last 5 semesters now. I teach a couple of courses, as I said, in management, especially focusing on master's program, MBA. And I have been not only teaching MBA, my 3 semesters in MBA also inspired me to offer a new course, which we call as the University Core course for everybody. So I have students of BBA, BCom, BCA, Humanities, computer science, engineering students, all of them taking a core paper called as Leadership for Enterprise Management. Again, it's a paper which, or a course which I have combined elements of Western philosophy as well as Indic wisdom out there. So let me take you through this journey and try and help you understand as faculty members as to how we can actually blend this beautiful Indian knowledge system that we predominantly have been bestowed with. Our elders have been absolutely great to give certain beautiful work for us. And based on that, I'm going to just take you through this day. So let me just start sometimes. Sorry. Yeah. So when I look at the current need for management education transformation, not necessarily just management education, but anywhere for that matter, any stream, whether you're teaching a course in management education or you're teaching it in languages or you're teaching in chemistry or wherever you're teaching, actually there is a dire requirement for us to go back to our tradition, go back to our rich heritage to show how our previous generations or how our historical perspectives have been beautiful enough to project the future. So I have been trying to understand or help students understand how can we as faculty members reimagine management education? Now, when I talk about reimagining management education, there are multiple reasons as to why we need to curate such kind of courses for India, especially Indian perspective. Now, India, if you have noticed in the last 10, 15 years, we have been changing the narratives that we have been speaking to the world. So from a country, I suppose many of you must have been of my age when we were in 11th and 12th standard. I remember our economics professor calling India as a developing country, and that we had to really work hard to achieve a lot of things that the developed countries. We were also given a lot of thoughts about how to mind this gap that we are much, much below the rest of the world, and therefore we need to work hard. But in the last 15, 20 years that I've seen, especially post 1991, the globalization, we have seen the change in the narratives that Indian education system has been making across, not only education, as a country, we have been giving a different kind of positioning for ourselves. So today the whole world is now going to look to India for in terms of markets, in terms of education, in terms of research, in terms of many things, because we have been able to prove to them time and again that our Indian knowledge system or our unique way of doing things is indeed one of the best ways. And not only that, we are known for what we very famously called as Jugaad innovation. We are necessarily not doing just Jugaad, but we are also capable of scaling up to a very large extent. Now, from that perspective, the kind of leadership, let me also quote some of the figures to you. So when you look at Fortune 500 companies in the world, a large majority of the Fortune 500 companies are headed by Indians. Now, if you look at it, with these many hundreds of countries in the world, why did an Indian become eligible enough or capable enough of leading those institutions or leading such large organizations is probably because of the kind of cultural rootedness we have and the kind of abilities that we have within us in order to lead teams, lead organizations, bring in innovations, make sure that we head ahead of others. And not only that, the whole concept of leadership paradigm has changed. Now, when you look at the comparison between a Western philosophy and an Eastern philosophy, we are the ones who always talk about the concept of we. We don't talk about I. We are not the ones who believe that I need to do well, but the others need not. So a concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we are talking about bringing everybody together. We are talking about the concept of servant leadership, which is again becoming a very popular concept across the world, where the leader puts others above him when he's trying to serve his organization or a country or any institution for that matter. So there are some new leadership paradigms which have originated from India, and we are now trying to understand how this can actually help solve global problems, not just India, but global problems. Now, don't you think we need to bring it into our education system? The second is that there's a whole transformation that you're seeing with respect to organizations, with respect to different entities, that we are not looking at profits anymore, but we are leading with purpose. Now, purposeful leadership or action driven leadership, or we are talking about purposeful organizations. I think there's a lot that we are talking about in terms of purpose driven rather than just profit motive. And when we again go back to our Indic texts, we see a lot of purpose driven organizations or purpose driven behavior that is so evident in our texts. Again, that's missing in whatever we are teaching today. The third one is it's very crucial for us to go back and tell our students about their cultural roots and then develop them holistically. I would like to just throw light on, there are three different words that we coined in our university. We say that when a student walks into the university, there are three components we focus on. We focus on jnana, we focus on ichha, and we focus on kriya. This Gnana, Ichcha, Kriya triad that we talked about is basically meant for any institution. What is the Gnana? We talk about the wisdom. right? As a university, as an educational institution, we want to make sure that the wisdom is imparted to the student. Icha. Icha is where we try to make sure that the student's passion is ignited, and then we try to help the child grow up into the being that he always wanted to be. Kriya is action oriented. So, whatever he has learnt in terms of wisdom, whatever the passion that the student wishes to pursue, we are now trying to make them put it into action. And therefore, all these three elements of jnana, icha, and kriya becomes important for a holistic development of a student. And that's when you start looking at a student graduating with all those attributes that we speak about in the UGC or the NEP or any other document that you see at the policy level. The last one is that today the world needs more of responsible, ethical, and resilient leaders. Why responsible? Because these children need to understand that they are the future of the country, and these people have to understand the elements of how their actions are going to be responsible for multiplicity of outcomes. And every decision that they take has to be ethically rooted. And every child has to understand that the world is no longer a very quiet place that it used to be 20 years ago. So today there's a lot of changes, lot of dramatic changes. Today we talk about how AI has come in, artificial intelligence has come in. We are talking about how a lot of jobs or lot of regular mundane jobs are going to be taken away by the AI. So there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of fear among these children as to how my future is going to be. And this is where the resilience comes in. Resilience is the ability of a person to stand up every time he falls down. That means, how do we face any kind of challenge fearlessly and then make sure that you take the best of your abilities out there? And this is where, through Indic wisdom, we can actually bring about a transformation in the entire education system that we are talking about. Again, as I said, not necessarily just management education, but any form, any program with these elements in it, I'm sure we can do wonders in the way we are creating graduates. The idea is that we are not saying, as a teacher, even I will not say that you don't need to teach the Western philosophy, but we'll focus only on Indic wisdom. Well, that's not how the world is going to be. We will require Eastern philosophy and the Western philosophy blending together in the classrooms. Therefore, you're actually able to tell the student, hey, here is the Western philosophy. For example, we talk about self-management, right? We talk about several theories of self-management, trying to tell a student, this is how you understand yourself, and this is how you start interacting with the outside world. Well, in the Eastern philosophy, that is in Indic wisdom, we talk about panchakoshas. Now, panchakoshas refer to different levels of a human being, and each level talks about how a person engages with himself and how the self growth happens over a period of time. Now, a student, when you are giving them a synchronization of both, it actually helps them to create a holistic thought process. It helps them to prepare themselves for a global, aspect, because we need to make them globally relevant also. At the same time, we are still trying to make them culturally rooted, because they should know the kind of rich evidence that people have given. For example, um, I was reading a recent research review that the one of the meditations that we talk about in Sadhguru has been tested by Harvard University, and they found that it is indeed having a very calming effect on the mind, and that it is indeed going to have a lot of implication on trying to bring in that solace, peace of mind in a person. Now, something that our forefathers have been talking about for ages together, we are now trying to go back to the Western world and say, hey, listen, this is what we do. Imagine, for ages, before COVID-19 struck India also, for ages we have been using turmeric, we have been using neem, we have been using many of these ingredients, pepper, inside our kitchens on a daily basis. because our forefathers have already understood the importance of this. And that's precisely why when you have cough or cold, you normally go back to your kitchen, put up a concoction of all these elements, ginger, maybe pepper, maybe turmeric, and then you create a concoction, and then you actually get better in some days. And imagine the scenario, we never bothered to patent a couple of these things, but the United States of America, somebody there, some researcher there talks about how turmeric, which is in other words called curcumin, was actually patented as one of the evidence for getting rid of your cold and cough, and how helpful it was during COVID-19. So what we have predominantly lost is that we have a rich heritage with us. We really have been sitting on a bundle of wealth, but unfortunately we haven't been successful in using it as much. We probably never thought about patenting a lot of things. Maybe nobody talked about copyrights and trademarks those days. So probably nobody talked about patenting any of these. And today the world is patenting what Indians have always been speaking about. For example, talk about yoga, talk about meditation, talk about the everyday divine puja that you do in the morning, or you talk about certain rituals like keeping some food for the birds, taking care of your flora fauna every day in the morning, or talk about some of the rituals like there are some seasons where we give away or give alms to poor and the needy people. All these things have had relevance, and today when I start connecting each of this with the Western philosophy, they have beautifully coined different words. For example, when I talk about a period where we start giving away to the poor and the needy, they very beautifully called it as the corporate social responsibility and individual social responsibility. So we probably always had it in our DNA, we probably always had it in our culture, but we haven't really brought it into mainstream, and therefore our children do not know much about why we did certain things, right? So when the and by the way, this generation is something where we call it as generation Z, generation Z, and the ones who are born now are called as the alpha generation. If you look at talking to these generations about Indic wisdom or Indic philosophy, unless a philosophy is backed by evidence, is backed by logic, these students will not accept it. And therefore, we as teachers need to understand how we can connect different elements and then tell the students in the classroom, bring these into the classrooms. Not only will it make your classrooms absolutely engaging, they will go back to say that, hey, I remember my father or my grandfather doing this at home. Or they will actually start connecting with why certain traditions became important to us as we grew up. Now, for example, when we look at any temples in our country, you will see that these temples were always near the river bank. They were always near the seashore, or they were always near the river bank. The reason is that temples were not just a place where people used to go and pray, but temple used to be a particular entity where a massive set of activities took place. The entire societal development took place, keeping center or keeping the temple at the center of activities. Now, how many of us have even gone back to explain these things? I'll give you a quick example about how, in one of the courses that my colleague is teaching, we have tried to blend the East and the West. My colleague teaches a course on supply chain management. Now, in supply chain management, we tried to help this child understand why don't you want to understand how India performed, or how at an era where there was no aircrafts or there were no massive ships, what were these people doing? Were they following any specific route? And therefore, our students started researching on a concept called a Silk Route. And the beauty is that if you go to Chennai, if you go to Kerala, if you go to Ujjain, if you go to Mumbai, you will see a lot of these old traditional places, which was considered to be a massive place for Silk Route. And our students have actually gone there to study and then come back. Now, what happens to these students is I've seen the whole change in the perspective. Now, they are the ones who are now going to say, hey, we already had a bundle of knowledge with us. Can we now combine the two and create solutions which are very unique to India? Or can we create solutions which can be scalable for the rest of the world? Ultimately, what we are preparing today are graduates who can serve the society in some way, graduates who can bring in solutions to new age problems. We are trying to create graduates who can actually scale up in such a way that it is accessible to every human being in this world. Let me take it forward. We talk about bridging global competence with local relevance. Now, I want to take you through some of the frameworks that I have been using where the blending happens. Now, when I talk about Western framework, so we talk about strength, weakness, opportunities, threat analysis. We famously call it as SWOT analysis, or we talk about Porter's five forces model, or we talk about how organizational agility is important. All these are American, European frameworks which bring scientific rigor. We talk about structured thinking. For example, we talked about scientific management. We talk about time management. A time study, motion study. We talk about a lot of these. By the way, in Eastern or Indic wisdom also, we can speak several of these when we, as I said, we talk about Panchakosha, which is nothing but your SWOT analysis. You can actually go back to analyze what you're good at and what you're not so good at. We talk about the Dharma, Karma Yoga, we talk about Sankhya Yoga, which emphasizes ethics, purpose, sustainability, and inner development. So we're trying to tell the students that the kind of rich text that we talk about bring out all these elements in a person, not just a very transactional. So I think I want to bring this element here. There is a concept of transactional and there is a concept of transformational. Now, the Western theories talk a lot about transactional in nature. That's why we call, they talk about I, they talk about self, they talk about, how aggression has to be there. All these are typical Western philosophy. But in the Indic philosophies, we predominantly talk about we talk about our culture, we talk about our community, we talk about our society, and then we also talk about how we can blend with everybody. So there is a lot of local relevance that we can bring in, and the synchronization between the Western framework and the Indic wisdom can ensure again that students can compete globally wherever they go, they can survive well. Whether you talk about Sundar Pichai, you talk about Indra Nooyi, they have been doing phenomenally well at the global scenario too, but they remain culturally aware. When you look at any one of these people, they have never forgotten the roots. And they are also going to be taking ethical decision making. Therefore, they're very socially responsible. So they know that any decision that they take cannot be in the short run, but their decisions will have a long-term implication. I move ahead to the next one, that whenever we are talking about Indic wisdom, we are trying to again combine. So we are not saying that we should forget about Western philosophy and we should teach only Indic wisdom, not necessarily at all. But we are trying to understand how do we balance both? How do you balance a Western model with an Indic thought? So, for example, whenever you talk about any Western model in management or in any part of your work, maybe political science or sociology, or you're talking about any science for that matter, there's a lot of objectivity in decisions. And that's why I use the word transactional. And people believe that in West, they believe that any outcome has to be measurable in nature. And they have a rational analysis focus. Anything and everything has to be based by the logic part of it. Now, this is how the school education has prepared our students to think in a very different way. So today, when we talk about dharmic decision making, now the questions asked is, why should I be dharmic? Will I have any implication when we are not dharmic enough? So we take case studies. For example, when I talk about a global case of, say, Johnson and Johnson, for a very, very long time, Johnson and Johnson, as the talcum powder, was considered to be one of the best-in-class product for the babies. And so much is the trust of mothers or new parents that they never bothered to even think twice what could be the content of that particular talcum powder. We went ahead and did it because we believed that if the company is doing extremely well, they must be giving us good products. Now, the downfall of Johnson and Johnson is a testimony to showcase to the students that if you're not having ethical anchoring in your day-to-day operations, there is a chance that however big the company is, however large your history or legacy has been, there's a high chance that you might fail terribly in business tomorrow because people are not going to keep quiet. That's where dharmic decision making comes. Imagine that this particular talcum powder had content of asbestos sheets. Asbestos, which is a chemical content which actually can cause cancer in children. There was a big case against them. We talk about several other examples like Volkswagen. Volkswagen at one point in time deliberately tampered with the engine and made sure that nowhere could anybody try and check the kind of emission or the pollution that these cars were generating because they had tampered with the software. Because the world is not so quiet, there is going to be a lot of consumerism around, and they finally made sure that Volkswagen accepted their mistake. So again, the downfall of this is that had they been ethical in their decision making, they probably wouldn't have faced a downfall like this. So big, large corporations, Volkswagen, a very large corporation, German-based. We talk about Johnson and Johnson, again a large organization, right? American-based, but nonetheless, because of a lack of the dharmic wisdom there in decision making, or looking at not ethical decision making, we want to talk to the students as to how the downfall took place. Then we also talk about inner clarity. Now, this is again that we talk to the students in our management principles that as an individual leader, having inner clarity is extremely important while we take decisions. And then talk about introspection and balance. Everything that we do has to have an introspection. You need to wait, stop, introspect, check, iterate, and then move forward. Now, this element, which is very, very evident in all the texts that we talk about, right? Going forward, I'm going to showcase to you how I have combined it, especially in terms of the texts used. I'm sure you will have more ideas on that. The next thing that we talk about while we blend or try to embed Indic wisdom is we as a classroom, in a classroom, as a teacher, we try to nurture a whole leader, a wholesome personality who can lead with this head, heart, and hand. When we talk about head, heart, and hand, we're talking about a holistic personality. Head stands for intellectual engagement. Your heart stands for emotional intelligence, and your hand stands for practical implementation, action orientation. The Western pedagogy, to a large extent, focuses only on skills and cognition. As long as you have the skills to do something, then you're good to go ahead. But Indic wisdom believes that it is not sufficient for you to have skills, or it's not sufficient for you to have cognition, but you also need to have those soft skills called as character, your inner discipline, and values. Now, this is something that we can blend. Does not mean that if character, inner discipline, and values are enough for someone to do very well in life. Not necessarily. We need to have a blend of both skills, cognition, and these characters. And therefore, when we synchronize these two in the classroom, you're able to develop knowledge, which is the head part of it. You're able to develop a heartful or a mindful person because you are making that person lead with empathy. You're also trying to create action in everything that a student does, therefore creating a true liberal management education. Now, this is something which is a buzzword today in India. Universities like Harvard University, Stanford have been known for its liberal education. Now, what do we mean by liberal education is where you allow the mind to think beyond their horizons. So you're not restricting that this BSc student is going to study science and nothing else, or this commerce student or management student is going to study commerce and nothing else. That's not how we look at it. So this wholesome personality is going to be a culmination of three kinds of competencies that you need to build into the classroom. The first competency is your generic competency. So whether this person has communication skills, can they lead as teams? Do they have the capability to speak? Do they have the capability to hear? Are these people capable of critical thinking skills? These are generic competencies. Every student should have these competencies, irrespective of whether he is from stream A or stream B. The next level of competencies are discipline level competencies. So if you call yourself as a physics student or a management student, you need to be an expert in that. So your discipline competencies comes. Then comes competencies which are absolutely evident in terms of tools. That is what I call as specific competencies. So for example, if you're creating a student of, say, commerce, who is preparing himself into the specialization of accounting and taxation, then the actual tool, the specific skill set we are talking about is with respect to maybe knowledge of Tally, knowledge of Zoho, knowledge of advanced Excel. These are the specific competencies that I'm talking about. So what we are saying is, when you're nurturing a wholesome student into the classroom, we not only need to focus on the skill sets which are crucial for his success, but we also need to focus on those soft character building, the inner discipline and values which are so well evidenced by the Indic wisdom that we already have with us. For example, when I talk about team building exercises, we use a lot of Panchatantra stories. These Panchatantra stories are one of the masterpieces when it comes to talking to students about some moral values. So if you go tell a student you need to behave well with elders, or you go tell a student that you should not, you should have honesty and integrity with you, they really don't care. They don't understand. But when this storytelling takes place, when we have this unique blend of what the world expects and how we can develop it, it's a fantastic journey that you will see inside the classroom. Another element why we need to blend the Western and Eastern philosophy, or why we need to have an Indic wisdom into our classrooms and curriculum and pedagogy for that matter, is that a student is studying to respond to India's very unique socio-cultural context. You look at any multinational which has come to India, the first thing they have is struggle to understand India's socio-cultural context. They can't understand. The reason why they can't understand India's socio-cultural context is because we are a culmination of multiplicity of cultures. We have multiplicity of languages. We have diversity in terms of the kinds of people who are living in the same country. We have multiplicity of the kind of traditions and customs we come with. So this concept of one size fits all, which is absolutely okay to be in America or Europe, just doesn't work in India. Let's take an example. Some communities in India do not eat pork, and some communities in India do not eat beef, both for religious perspectives. Now, when I am offering, suppose I am a McDonald, then I need to keep in mind that something that worked extremely well in an American market or an Australian market might just not work here. So what they have to understand is that being a leader in India, you need to not only look at religion from the perspective of its traditions, but you also understand that these traditions or customs become a part of my business decision making. And therefore, when you walk into any one of these McDonald's or Burger King or wherever you go into, you will neither see them serving pork nor will you see them serving beef, because they do not want to hurt anybody's sentiments, because people come there to eat and have some kind of a satisfaction. And that's that the idea is to understand. So when you are teaching somebody, when we are trying to bring in some Western models, the collective mindsets, the collective mechanisms might just not work there. Because in India, our businesses operate in a very complex cultural ecosystem. Let's take another example. So when you look at, say, a company like Starbucks, Starbucks was a coffee making company. But when they came to India, they realized that people don't drink only coffee, because we are divided in terms of who drinks coffee and who drinks tea. So come to South India, people love coffee. Go to North India, people love tea. So imagine Starbucks existing only in South India and no North India at all. So they had to change their strategy. And they changed their strategy to include chai also, tea, right? Now, another thing that you also see uniquely in Starbucks is that they understood that in India, people don't drink large mugs of coffee and tea because that's not they are used to. So you will see that in Starbucks now you have a small cup, you have a medium cup, and a large cup. Now, how did this decision making come? Unless you had understood the cultural rootedness of Indian citizens. Now, this is so important for us to bring to the classrooms. It's easy to say that Western philosophies and Western models will work well. Not necessarily. Let's take an example of a simple thing like Maslow's hierarchy. Now, when we talk about motivation to people, so how do you motivate people in your organization? We believe there are 5 levels. So the first level is your basic needs. In Hindi, they say roti kapda makan. So you need your food, you need your clothing, you need your shelter. These are basic needs. And then you start going up. And the last level is called self-actualization. Now, tell me the story in India. If you have seen your own colleagues or maybe you've seen your own communities, there are youngsters as young as 35, 40 years who have seemingly believed that they have achieved everything that they wanted to. They have enough money made by the time they turn 40. And at 40, they want to take retirement. They want to go back to their villages. They want to take up farming. They want to do aquaculture. They want to get back to something that is rootedness. This is a very unique thing that people are now getting back in India. Now, don't you think our classrooms have to talk about these? That in our cultures, in our system that we live in, there is a lot of spiritual motivation in all that we do, apart from just the transactional motivation. Of course, many of us are materialistic. We love to have a good car. We love to have a great phone. We love to have a good watch. All good. But at the end of the day, it's our spiritual motivation that actually decides a lot of things. At the end of the day, you're still creating a mental balance sheet of the karma or the good deeds versus the bad deeds, because that's what keeps you going in life. Now, this is something again might sound very abstract to a student, but when you start reading a lot about Indic wisdom and when you start blending it into your classrooms, trust me, the students will start enjoying it. So, what we are trying to do in the classroom is through Indic wisdom, we are trying to create a context sensitive students who can actually enhance the real world applicability of all that they are learning inside the classroom. So we are not saying that we need to teach them only Vedas, or we are not going to teach them any of the only the holy books inside the classroom, but we are trying to take abstracts from that, pick out the good things from there, and try to embed it into your classrooms, which can actually help them to have better understanding of what they are doing. Another thing that is very evident in our classrooms is how do you revive indigenous knowledge with modern pedagogy? I am definitely a blend of both myself. For 22 years of my teaching career, I have predominantly taught Western philosophy. I have been using modern pedagogy. But somewhere last 3 years, with a huge, very strong center of Indian knowledge system at our university, we've been able to understand how do I now blend it. So we do have a lot of these readings, including the Tirukural, which is brought into my classrooms. So whether it is the tales from Panchatantra or Chanakya Niti, Ramayana or Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, there is no necessity for us to look at only one set of texts, but we're looking at a multiplicity, not just restricting to one religion, but any religion for that matter. We can even look at Sufism, we can look at Jainism, we can look at Buddhism. A lot of these things can be brought in order to help ourselves understand what is the kind of rich tradition that we have been growing up with. And can we push that into our classrooms, trying to revive these indigenous knowledge? So, as a country, we have had a very rich tradition of governance. In fact, one of the best in class governance that you will see in terms of how to run a country, how to run a kingdom. So today, when I come down to regular, new country level, how do you run your state? How do you run your governance? I think a classic set of these knowledge, you can pull it out from Arthashastra, you can pull it out from Bhagavad Gita, you can talk about from Mahabharata. And in fact, I use a lot of Tirukural also in terms of governance. Many of these elements of governance and what differentiates between a good person and a bad person in the society is beautifully brought out in Tirukural. So many of our students actually go back to their home, ask their parents, and come back and talk to us. They have prepared beautiful projects. They have written beautiful cases. They have actually started publishing papers at their level. Now, basically, we are trying to say Western tools are basically helping us to structure, communicate this knowledge in a different way. But we are trying to help understand how can we now look at our tradition, go back to these rootedness, go back to these indigenous books, and bring out knowledge so that we try to integrate both cultural continuity without rejecting innovation. So the idea is not to reject innovation and say we don't want anything new because we already have a rich base. Not necessarily. We're absolutely open for any innovation, but at the same time, we want to pick up these tools so that it can actually help us to do better and integrate better into our classrooms. Again, as I mentioned, purpose-driven leadership is extremely important, and the entire world is moving away from trying to maximize profit to trying to maximize value to people. So that's why we talk about value, we talk about purpose driven. Today, we talk about the triple bottom line. We're talking about sustainable development goals. All these are things, if you go back and look at your own text, if you go back and look at your own culture, your own traditions, you will somehow see that all these we were already talking about. Nothing of this is new. For example, as I said, corporate social responsibility. I think most of the Indian firms were already having the concept of giving back to society. Look at Zoho. Mr. Sridhar Vembuji has been giving back to a large extent to the communities where he has come from. He has created a benchmark to the entire world, stating that if you are running a IT company, you don't need to necessarily sit in a urban community and create large companies or large buildings with no soul, but rather he has shown to the world you can be wherever you are. You can take care of your local talent, give them enough empowerment, teach them, train them, and then prepare them for this world. Now, I've seen people who have worked in Zoho and coming back and speaking very high about this company because there is a lot of blend of cultural rootedness in whatever they do. And unfortunately, if companies are talking about it today, why are our classrooms not talking about it? Can we also try to prepare our students in this perspective, stating that it's good to look at Western models, but Indic philosophy, example here, when we talk about Loka Sangraha, we talk about Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu, we talk about this in every single day. Every single day when you're talking about this in your mantras, you're probably talking about this. We're talking about ahimsa, we're talking about Vasudeva Kutunga. That means everybody is my family member. Why are we treating somebody else as beyond our family? So this basically, this kind of fostering ethical and purpose-driven personality in any student can actually offer an ethical compass. That means you can help a student anchor himself in ethical rootedness, therefore trying to refine himself to modern demands. So possibly going back just to these Indic wisdom might not be sufficient in today's world, but we need to refine ourselves in order to achieve all those challenges that we are facing in the modern world. Uh, I'm sorry, it's becoming a little too monologue, but unfortunately, since it's a webinar, I think I will speak first and then you will speak to me later. I would have loved this to be an interactive session because I'm sure a lot of you are doing brilliant things in your classrooms. I'm sure some of you are actually already imbibing these in whatever you're doing, in whichever subject you're teaching. I think this kind of exchange of best practice is actually going to bring in better rigor in what we are doing. So we also want to, as a teacher, I have always felt that why do our students feel confident only when they believe they know Western models? Why are we creating scenarios where our own heritage is not valued well? Or they're undervalued. They don't really value much about ourselves, but they look at Western philosophies. Now, take an example during COVID-19. During COVID-19, the kind of system that we set up in our country, the kind of immunity that we had built is something that the whole world was trying to understand, because large population, first one was China, second large populated country in the world is India. China had massive deaths during COVID-19. So people were expecting the same story to continue in India also. Surprisingly for the world, even small countries had terrible, eventualities. But India did not suffer that kind of a problem. India was able to gear up quickly to do things that nobody else in the world had done. Now, that is the time when people started wondering, how are we so prepared? Let me give you another example. There was an investment banking company called Lehman Brothers in the United States, a very old legacy company, 150-year-old company. And nobody in this universe thought that one fine day Lehman Brothers will fall down, because there's a huge financial depression that the country went through. It was a global crisis. It was not just an American crisis. Surprisingly enough, the global financial crisis hit every single country in the world except India. We really didn't suffer so much because we believe in a very conservatism principle. Look at what we do as Indians. If we earn 100 rupees, we necessarily save 20 or 30 and then only spend the rest. This is the concept of a cultural heritage or tradition that has come to us. We are a very conservative set of people when it comes to spending. And probably that is the one that held us high. That is the one that stopped us from crumbling down like the United States. Now look at what's happening across the world. Throughout the world, there is a problem. There's inflation, there is geopolitics happening, and then you're talking about lack of jobs, economies are not growing. Surprisingly, the so-called developed economies like the United States, or you talk about Japan, or you talk about Europe, or you talk about UK, all those economies are crumbling down because their foundation was not very strong. Today, when you look at the same case in India, the same principles where people laughed at us is the same thing that is keeping us very strong even to this day. Whether it is being in a joint family, or whether it is the kind of financial management techniques that you have at home, or whether it is the homemaker's budgeting capability, that is something so unique in the world that anybody will have to really look at it. A child has to be known, or a child has to understand that probably there cannot be a better manager than the mother at home or the grandmother at home, because they have done it so well. They have done it so beautifully well. They have managed everything. They have managed time. They have managed money. They have put resources in action. They have done a lot of these things. So when we talk about building cultural confidence and innovation, we are trying to understand how cultural self-esteem will spark contextual innovation. Now, what I mean by contextual innovation is, look at the example of UPI. It was so heartening to see Bill Gates coming to India and seeing that a coconut vendor in our country has a UPI, but somewhere when you go up in the United States, they don't have UPI at all. They are still stuck to credit cards. Now, when I saw that in America last year, it was amazing for me, because I was laughing at them saying, in India, we hardly use credit cards anymore. We are looking at e-wallets. We don't even carry money in our wallets. Now, this is something that we need to understand. And how have we been able to scale up? The scaling up is something that is unimaginable. Look at the content in India. The number of social enterprises that have come up in India is something brilliant. Let me give you one another example about how we have done contextual innovation. Look at Tata Nano cars, right? It's a contextual innovation. Why we say a contextual innovation? There is a story that says Ratan Tata ji was going on the road. We don't know how much of it is fiction and how much of it is reality, but the outcome is fantastic. He was going on a busy street. It was raining that morning. He saw a family of four, two adults and two children on a two-wheeler, drenching in the rain. And suddenly he went back to his office and said, hey, can we create a car which can be at the same cost or maybe a little more than the regular two-wheeler for any Indian? And soon after that, he went to one of the global automobile expo. And in that particular global expo, somebody came and asked him, some press reporter came and asked him, Mr. Ratan Tata, what do you want to do next? And he actually went ahead and told him, we are going to be producing the world's cheapest car. And this became headlines in New York Times the next day, saying that Ratan Tata has promised that Tata Motors is going to come out with the world's cheapest car. And then when Ratan Tata came back to India, I believe he had no clue how he's going to do it. And he came back and his engineers were perplexed, saying, how is it that you have gone and told the world that we are going to produce the world's cheapest car? And then they started the discussion, and Ratan Tata ji said, I don't want a car, or I want a car which is just about 1 lakh. Today, we don't get a high-end two-wheeler for 1 lakh. And at that time, he went and said, I want a car which is going to cost us about 1 lakh. I want this car to be sold in every single retail outlet of Tata Motors, or every single retail outlet wherever Tata is existing. I want this Tata Nano cars to be sold, because this car was meant to be for every single Indian who could not afford a car, but who would aspire to have a car because of a big family. Look at how contextual innovation gets sparked. Why don't we teach this in our classrooms? And then we talk about corporations which are inspired by traditional practices. Today, Vasan Eye Care, Amul, Cholamandalam, or for that matter, even Zoho, are all corporations which have been inspired by traditional practices. Now, we don't talk about those case studies anywhere. We are not talking about the kind of best practices that they have brought to the table. And therefore, any management lesson which is rooted in identity, rooted in your own cultural identity, fosters a lot of creative confidence among the students. And this is so crucial for their upbringing, because that's the most important part of it. Let me now come to the syllabus part of it and just showcase to you. This is just a snapshot of what I do. Suppose I'm teaching to them introduction to management. I'm talking about Mintzberg, as I said, with the Western philosophy. I also try to look at the Indic wisdom equivalent, where I teach them the concept of dharma as purpose-driven leadership. We talk about role clarity. We talk about duty consciousness. We also talk about the concepts of Rajadharma, which is the ruler's duties. And where do I get this from? I look at the Mahabharata. I look at Kautilya's Arthashastra, where the king is considered to be the CEO of the state. Next, when I look at planning, where we talk about goal setting, strategy formulation, decision making, I do go back to Purusharthas. In Purusharthas, we talk about how do you integrate goal setting, alignment, the purpose, vision, mission, objectives. This alignment is so important between the people who are working in an organization and the organization's aspirations. And again, here I draw heavily from Arthashastra. The Chanakya Niti is a classic document that can tell you. Suppose I'm teaching a concept of directing, where we talk about leadership, motivation, communication, supervision. This is where we talk about the Sankalpa, Ichcha, Kriya. We talk about Seva Bhava in terms of servant leadership. We talk about equanimity in terms of Samatvam, the Karma Yoga, all these. And here I draw again heavily from the Bhagavad Gita, the Mahabharata, Tirukkural. These are areas where I can get a lot of content for my teachings inside the class. And trust me, I'm not a Sanskrit scholar. I also have my own, hindrances in understanding some of the Sanskrit texts in its raw sense, and therefore I heavily depend on the translations of these work, and therefore this is a great way in which you can go back. And fortunately, in our university, we also have a lot of people who are working heavily in this center. And when you sit across your, colleagues and then ask them, where do I do it? So I give my course outlines to them and tell them, hey, these are my thoughts. Can you add value to this? And my colleagues have beautifully come out with different aspects in Indic wisdom, which can be brought into the textbooks. There are certain elements where I'm not very good at teaching. I actually allow them to come and co-teach in my classrooms. So when I again talk about teamwork and collaboration, I pull out things from Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 and 18. I pick it up from Panchatantra. Whenever I teach risk management to students, I take it again from Panchatantra, Hitopadesha. Then communication and diplomacy, I pick it up from Tirukural, Arthashastra again, Viduraniti, we talk about Shanti Parva. All these are brilliant work which can tell you umpteen elements of how you need to lead organizations. So this is just a snapshot of what we do inside. I'm coming to the last bit of my presentation. Now, why is it that we need to bring in Indic wisdom into what we are teaching inside our classrooms? Because as teachers, we need to change the narratives. If we do not change the narrative, the children will not look at the country the way it should be looked at. These children should be proud about where they belong to, and they are the future generations. And this generation has to understand, and this generation has to be taught in a different way, trying to blend both Eastern and Western philosophy, because we need to have a contextualized learning over one size fits all. One size fits all is a Western philosophy that anything you do, everybody will take it. And that's the reason why, when you look at any product of the US, you will never see them contextualizing to people. But here, it's not so. When you come to India and serve Indian markets, people think about it differently. So, this is the only country in this world where when you buy a food product, you will see a red dot or a brown dot or a green dot, because it understands the sensitivities involved in the markets. They understand that there are some people who are pure vegetarians. There are some people who are eggetarians. That means they eat egg, but they are pure vegetarians. That's where the brown dot comes. And then there are people who do not mind eating non-vegetarian food. That's where the red dot comes. So you need to have a contextualized learning over this one size fits all. Then we also have to change the narrative that about the wisdom based leadership, which is very, very highly rooted in Indian ethos. So today, when you talk about ethics, we talk about Yudhishthira. We talk about how the kind of uh, the narratives that is brought out in these texts actually give you a beautiful debatable context, trying to say whether he was right in doing this war, was he wrong in his perspective. This debate actually helps them to bring in that contextualized versions of it. And then emerging market innovations, we need children to build those emerging market innovations that can solve complex social problems, that can solve infrastructure problems for us. Because we have beautiful companies, we don't have roads, we don't have bus stops, we don't have widened roads. So therefore we have come into drones. We are looking at different varieties of infrastructural or social challenges that we are trying to achieve through our education system. So some of these, just a quick thought, in another 3 minutes, I'm going to be completing this. There are several Indian examples that have been featured in Harvard Business School. Do you know that Harvard University has a center in Mumbai, and their job is to identify different classic examples that can be taught back in their B schools. Today, when you go to YouTube and search for meditation, it is highly likely that you will have a foreigner teaching you or guiding you with meditation. Go to yoga or try and search for yoga teachers. It is highly likely that some American is actually teaching you yoga. Go to any one of our gurukuls where teachers are teaching yoga, you will see a lot of foreigners coming, learning from here and going back and teaching their own people there. Now, a lot of Westerners are taking back Eastern philosophies. They are going back with our traditions. And unfortunately, we are not able to retain this into our generations. Especially when I say our generations, it is not just at our family level, but we are also looking at our educational system. So some of these examples are Akshay Patra Foundation. Now, this Akshay Patra is a part of ISKCON, and the case focus is operational excellence and scaling at a not-profit. Now, they have been able to understand how Akshay Patra has been able to do lean operations and value-based leadership. Look at Mumbai Dabbawalas. The Six Sigma supply chain management has been brought out very beautifully. 2 lakh lunch boxes are delivered across Mumbai by a team of 5,000 people who are semi-literate workers. They don't know much of literacy. They've just been dropped out from school. But the chance is why Six Sigma is because out of 16 million carriers that are going to be given away, there's a possibility that only one carrier goes to the wrong person. And that's how, if you have watched a Hindi movie called Lunchbox, that movie was inspired by that. So probably that's a very odd case where the lunchbox went to a different person. So imagine that this particular case is such that your Harvard Business is now trying to understand how do you process innovation, how do you decentralize, how do you look at decentralized control, how do you look at human centric logistics, because these guys are not working on any artificial intelligence, they are not working on any database, they are not a Ola Uber kind, they don't have GPS, but still they've been doing extremely well. Kumbh Mela was the next one that got captured. Not this Kumbh Mela, the previous Kumbh Mela got captured in Harvard Business School. It is largest human gathering on the earth. Over 100 million people came together. And here, the HPS insight was, how do people do event management when you have these many people coming together? And by the way, there was hardly any problems that emerged during this time. Of course, small things will be there, but mass, nobody had any issues. Amul, which is again a very India owned, there are many, many examples, but I'm just giving you a few of them. The case focuses how cooperative models and supply chain innovation can build such a massive company in the country. So they looked at, the case study focused on how did this farmer-led cooperative become a national brand. So the narrative is grassroots empowerment and the like. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak to all of you. And I would be happy to take any questions. I would be happy to have any of your best practices being shared, because I think we need to build a different narrative now. And these children are going to go back with this kind of narrative to their schools, to their universities, to their colleges, to their universities. And if we don't bring it into our classrooms, if we don't blend it into what we are teaching, we are doing great injustice. Right. So,
Thank you.
Dhanyavad, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really wonderful and inspiring. To add to
Thank you.
few things like what you said, is like as you made a mention, most of us, irrespective of the management education or irrespective of science or irrespective of literature, we are more stuck with the Western inputs that we have got. I
True.
mean, the colonial baggage and
Yes,
all kind of false narratives which we had been hearing through for nearly 200 years plus. So that we
absolutely.
have not shred off those colonial baggage and we still carry it on our back. So once we
True.
start shredding it down, I think there'll be more of clarity coming into our minds. And the purpose of this whole workshop itself is to make teachers understand that there is not a single area which cannot have an Indian knowledge system incorporated, because, as you said,
Absolutely.
most of our systems were all highly spiritual. We didn't have anything called religion, but all of them were spiritual. Take medicine, take agriculture, education itself was all spiritual. So once we
True.
bring back the spirituality, I mean, irrespective of whatever religion we follow, this will help us to give a better clarity and confidence to the next generation of students who are going to be the torchbearers of this great nation. So that's the purpose
Absolutely.
of this seminar. And I'm very happy the concluding session, you have summed up the entire thing and you have even shown us a method how you can incorporate them into the curriculum. And
Yeah.
ironically, one of the assessments which all the participants took was this. I had asked them to make
Oh,
a small concept note as to how they will incorporate IKS into their regular teaching learning through their curriculum. So I think you have
nice.
given the answers for that. The key is out now. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Participants can unmute and you can interact, please.
Yeah.
Oh,
Any
ma'am, there
MBA
is
course
one.
with
Yeah,
specialization. Yeah. I
yeah.
will just have a look at it. Just a minute. I'll just open the chat. Okay.
Any MBA
Yeah.
course
Let me
with
go to all
specialization?
these. Okay. Ancestors never liked exhibition culture. Very true. Nestle milk chocolates also face the same. Very, very true. Cadbury's, Maggie, a lot of these have faced a lot of these things. Then Buddha's preaching, yes, everything. In fact, it's that's why I specifically said I used it, because we pull out a lot of these from the contextual element of a management. But I'm sure there are a lot more. For example, I have a collaborator in Sri Lanka, And this gentleman brought out a beautiful research paper as to how the principles of Buddhism can actually be imbibed into how to run an organization. So there is, again, there is no religion involved in anything that we speak about today. It's more to do with how do you capture narratives from those Indic texts that has really built our generations. That's the only idea. So many thoughts. And yes, in Tirukural, in fact, I'm not a Tamilian, but I actually took the help of my students to understand certain context, because and by the way, this is my assignment to them in the class. So I have seen beautiful presentations coming out in terms of, and this is the first time when these students go back to their grandparents and ask them, you told me Tirukural that day, can you tell me more about this? Or they go back to the grandfather and said, there are certain things here in Tirukural. Can you tell me which are those which can capture, say, ethics, or it talks about governance? So first time I saw the students going back to their families and asking them things and coming back and presenting the same. So I think there was a lot more just than education that we did in the class that day. Tata, Wipro, colonization impact for centuries. Absolutely. Fourth largest economy that we are today, yes. And then Amul, largest milk producer. Today we have the likes of Akshay Kalpa, Country Delight. A lot of our own fellows are doing extremely well, actually. Amul was just one example I took because that is one of the case studies which was captured by the Harvard University. Dharma Raja, okay, yes. Corporate institutions by ancient. Good, thank you so much. I will take a note of that. Then welfare state mechanism, absolutely, yes. Yes, BKS Iyengarji did teach in foreign countries. And in fact, that's why I said the International Yoga Day has become popularized by India, but the whole world is celebrating yoga. Thank you for your feedback. Any MBA course with specialization in spiritual management? I really doubt if there's anything like that. But there are different schools. For example, I've seen Shri Shri Yoga Center, which actually does a lot of spirituality into that. But spiritual management, really, ma'am, it's very difficult to get students, sir, to get students into spiritual management today. Because the moment if I say spirituality, they will run away. So, but what we do is to imbibe elements of spirituality into them. So instead of calling it meditation, I call it as mindfulness. So we just use different terminologies to help them understand. The concept is the same, but you might use different words for it. Okay, they translated Tirukural in all Indian languages and foreign languages also. Thank you so much. I'm going to have a look at that. So I don't have any other questions there.
I think Inner Engineering by Sadhguru.
Yeah, Sadhguru. Absolutely. That's why I said.
Yeah.
Yes. Gokul Sharma ji. Yeah. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you for a wonderful session, and it gives us a lot of insight into how we have blended the West and the East, the Oriental coming back with its roots and speaking to the world. And the problem is we are all having Indian souls with a Western mind. The reason why you said that we have revelations only when a Western philosopher or Western mind comes and says what's there in yoga and Upanishads and cultural tropes. And in fact, even I'm one such person because just like you, I also have difficulties in straight taking the juice from the Sanskrit roots because it's very much in seed. So we need to know a lot of context around it to explore. So I also rely on many of the research done by, especially people who have come from the West and adopted their lifestyle, being here for years and then move on. And one another for this question of this whether there is any specialization of management with spiritual inclination. I think Radhakrishnan Pillai from the Chinnaya Foundation, who has written a lot of work on Chanakya Niti and leadership. They have a specialization as a, it's not an MBA as such, but they do touch upon this, and
they have small workshops.
Correct.
I know Dr. Radhakrishna Pilla very closely, and this gentleman does have these, small spurt of programs like workshops, 3-day workshop and things like that, where he does touch upon it. But MBA in spiritual management, I have not seen.
It's totally
I mean,
different. Yeah.
so what the idea is, we are contradicting. It's like the fire and the ice. So MBA is all about aggression, trying to tell them, hey, go, get the world. That's why suddenly somebody wrote a beautiful book called Blue Ocean Strategy. If you actually go back to Blue Ocean Strategy, it's all about the way, as I said, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Tell them that, hey, there is enough space for everybody to play. You don't have to kill competition to survive. So, I also tell my students in Japan, one of the previous Nobel Prize winners typically talked about how your body sets itself right when you starve for some time. And in our terms, we called it as Ekadashi.
There it's
two times in a month where 2 times in a month where you keep your system clean, don't feed it, allow it to settle down, allow it to rest, and then you go back to the next day. So a lot of these things which we never captured or patented because we never felt the need to patent it.
And to add upon that, here in South India, we have something called the Agati, which we have on the Dwadasi, the day after the fast. And usually this autophagy lasts for, the effect of the autophagy lasts for 28 to 48 hours. So when the cells recycle the old cells, cancerous cells which have disguised themselves to be healthy cells and which are actually rotting, this agati actually helps uncover this for the T cells. So it was a usual fact. Fact is that in the Dwadasi day, you have some herbal intakes like this, or with all the either amla you take the tulsi. So you have some herbal
You're
element
right.
which is coming. And this
So
is
it's very
documented.
heartening to see. Yeah, it's very heartening to see that the new set of people who have graduated and who have understood the logic behind why we were doing all these things have successfully come back to it. And that's a heartening thing to see. A lot of people, of course, you can't change everybody in this world, but at least there is a movement happening towards bringing back your cultural rootedness. So, Chandramohan sir was having something. Namaste, sir. So, please unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
Thank you very much for a wonderful session, madam. Now, audible,
Thank
madam?
you, sir. Yes, you are audible.
What you have given some very good impetus are very nice, madam, actually. And I happen to be a history faculty member, madam. And I work in one private college affiliated to Bangalore University in the city Bangalore, madam.
Oh, nice. Which college, sir?
That is the Universal School of Administration. And that is the college which is meant for integrated course for graduate undergraduation, and as well as for 3 years coaching for UPSC civil service examination, madam. And for the past 2 decades, I'm a faculty member in history for UPSC civil services. I work in Hyderabad and Bangalore, madam. And as a part of what you are saying, so many correlations in coincidence, whatnot in our teaching, madam. And that too, what you are saying as a right, exactly true. And we are giving some inputs to students. And in understanding this generation, madam, as you said, if you can give a logical thought to them with our ancestral knowledge and traditional knowledge, no doubt they are going to change, madam. That's why first and foremost we have to change. In my small submission and my thought, actually, first we have to change the colonial mindset from these people, of course, first, madam, and then automatically rest is actually our country, but in any aspect the future generations, because unfortunately we have traveled in a wrong path for 70 years even after independence, madam. After independence, before independence is okay, madam, being coming from a history discipline. After independence, what is this, madam? And till actually I'm not making any party, or I'm not affiliated to any party, madam. Till some farmer is saying, still some farmer is coming to India and saying that what is this Ramayana you are teaching in university, in which actually Rama has married his sister like that. Then only we realize that we are we are able to remove that from the things, means how this pathetic situation, madam, that should be changed.
That's true.
But that actually
Absolutely.
colleges and high schools, intermediate levels and undergraduate courses, these are, madam. And today, as you are saying, commerce course is also there in our college, madam. And then actually what you are saying about the management, these are the beauty, madam. These are the beauty. And thank you very much for a very thought-provoking session, madam. Thank you very much. And there is a proverb, maybe you have heard, of course, East is looking towards West and West is looking towards East, madam, today's. And we have to make actually East should look into its, what I say, earnest actually beginnings, madam. Then everything will change, madam.
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you very much. Madam.
Thank you for your insights. Thank you. Thank you.
One more aspect which I wanted to know from you.
Please.
Specialize in integrating subjects into the MBA curriculum. And one important area is negotiations. Across the corporate, whether it is dealing with the groups, whether it's management, or from that to mergers and acquisitions, or communicating a strategic decision down the line.
Right.
So we have this Sama, Dana, Veda, Danda progression in any approach. So do you have any of these elements in your curriculum included, and what is the base? I know that many of these concepts are ubiquitous, like everyone knew it, so it is mentioned in multiple places as per general knowledge, be it Tridoshas, Panchavotas. So this particular progression of Sama, Dhana, Veda and Danda in negotiations and dealing with conflict resolution. And the Western philosophies of maybe it's getting to yes or whatever it is, how you integrate these and what are the sources you rely on. Just curious.
As I initially mentioned, sir, I am not a Sanskrit scholar, but what I do is, one is I sit with my colleagues who are experts in that field, because many of my colleagues have come from Chinmay Vidyalaya, right? The Chinmay University, many of them have come. So they have been the deans of those schools, and then they are now working with us, heading Indian knowledge system. So the beauty of the way as teachers, as a teacher, I believe there's nothing wrong in seeking knowledge. As I said, 22 years of my life, I've taught only Western philosophy. It's only when I started looking at the university's vision and the university's alignment to Indian knowledge system, that's when we started looking at it. In fact, today we have pitched a textbook for leadership for enterprise management, which is based out of Indic philosophies. So one professor from the Indian knowledge system, myself and another author, 3 of us have pitched that book. So we are now trying to blend it at each level. I am also a novice in this field in terms of, that's why I said I've taught only 4 semesters. Now, how do we take it progressively is, as I said, there's a lot of consultation that happens. There's another gentleman called Dr. Vignesh Bhatt. I do not know if you have read his books. Dr. Vignesh Bhatt is another gentleman who has written a lot in terms of how Indic wisdom has really helped. We also work with Dr. B. Mahadevan, who was a former professor of IIMB, who's again written books. His books as Pearls of Wisdom. You can see that in a lot of these, Amazon. These are books which we have really taken it very seriously and started looking at it. 2 years from now, I can vouch that we can actually create curriculum, we can create pedagogy in every field, especially since I teach management. I want to make sure that we actually bring in those. So I can actually share what I have done with you. Maybe Madan sir can share your email ID and I will share with you, which is a complete course outline. Yeah, it's a complete course outline where there are different components. What I gave you is just a snapshot here. It's just not these 4 texts that we see. As I said, we look at Panchakoshas, we look at all these elements of Karma Yoga, Shanti Parva. All these elements are imbibed into what we do. So it's not just one, but I'll be happy to share that with you. And for all you know, who knows, maybe we could be co-teaching a paper tomorrow. Let's try and do that.
I'm from a strategic advisory background, so
lovely.
For me, I deal with mergers and acquisitions, and We have teams working across the globe, especially in MENA and Middle East and North Africa. So we have a
Oh,
lot of
nice.
cultural exchanges. And I operate from Kozhikode. There's a place where Islam came in when
Ah,
Muhammad Nabi was alive. Just like any
oh,
other philosophy here, how Jainism came and adopted, people adopted Islam in a friendly manner. Because till
correct.
yesterday, I'm seeing you as a person who has no other specific belief, and today you come and saying that you're fasting, you are praying 5 times a day, and that with that mutual respect it came here. So it's a totally different perspective from what's happened through North India. So with that root here and the connections here with the Gulf, I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to see the whole contextual difference. So whenever we blend global teams, I mean, we have Filipinos, Pakistanis, Indians, and other nationals working in the team together.
Mm-hmm.
So when we
Mm-hmm.
are developing a curriculum for onboarding or grooming for the next level of management, we usually
Mm-hmm.
take in the cultural aspect very importantly. So
Absolutely.
we ensure that if someone does, like just like you said, everyone is unique. So someone doesn't feel comfortable with pork, don't keep on questioning it. Someone who's not comfortable with beef, let's give that due respect to it. So only then a
Absolutely. True.
pluralistic environment will be synergistic. So
That's
I
why
would say
I
yes,
am very particular of talking about how do we change the narrative. It's all
exactly.
about the way we perceive things. It's all about the way we want to put forth the narrative. That's why today storytelling is becoming so important in management circles. The way you project it is what is going to be the belief of the people.
True.
So,
And that's why they probably during the Macaulays time when they decided that they are going to implement Western education over the Eastern Oriental system here, they decided to take it right from the root and ensure that the narrative is totally against the
absolutely,
Oriental system.
very true. That's true.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, thank you so
We
much.
would like to definitely keep in touch. Please do
Of
share
course,
your
sir.
resources to me. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Thank you so much. Sir?
Sir, madam, one
Yes, sir.
small observation and one small submission.
Please.
Audible, madam?
Yes, I am. Yes, you are audible to me. Please tell me.
Many local maxims and these proverbs are also teaches rich history, madam, in any language actually, which are often used by illiterates, madam. And if you permit our Madan Sankar sir and you, I reveal because I come from Telugu
Please.
background, of course, madam.
Of
And
course,
there is
sir.
actually one Vijayanagara times proverb is there, madam.
Uh-huh.
Devarandare
Uh-huh.
Tirupati Timmappa, Devarandare Tirupati Timmappa, Guruvandare Mansali Raganna. This is the proverb spoken by illiterate people. Devarandare
Uh,
Tirupati Timmappa means Tirumala Venkateshwara is popularly known
uh,
as Timmappa in Karnataka. That's why Timme
uh.
Gowda, Timme Swami, these are the common names in Kannada. And Guruvandare Mansali Raganna. Mansali means they can't spell Mantralaya. So that
Like,
Mansali stands for Mantralaya. And Raganna means Raghavendra Swami, madam. See, so many, madam. And just with your another one submission, madam. There is another Telugu proverb actually that is Sakulu Cheppina Vaniki Suskani, Illu Cheppina Vaniki Duggani. This is actually Telugu proverb very much popular in Rayalaseema region of Andhra Pradesh, madam. And what is this means? One man is hatching the roof for a hut, madam. And one gentleman was hardly working, other gentleman was just simply sitting on the floor and observing. By the end of the day, actually, Illu Kappinavaniki, who has worked hard, he was given Suskani, a smaller denomination coin, and who has not worked and sat on the floor, actually, he was given actually Dugani and more denomination coin, madam. This is because of one of my past research paper happened to be history through maxims and proverbs, madam. That's what
oh,
published in one journal
I
also.
would
That's
love
what.
to read
So
that.
every
Very
aspect, madam,
good.
and actually, as Madan sir also yesterday said, one life is not enough to know about a total
Oh,
Indian culture, madam. One life is not enough if we take one subject. That is the beauty of
absolutely right.
culture, and so Bharatiyata. We are proud to be
Definitely.
Hamara Bharat Mahan, madam, in any aspect, madam,
Absolutely,
any
sir.
aspect, madam.
I think it's
And
high time we celebrate this now and try
yes, madam.
to imbibe that
Yes,
into our classrooms in different ways. Maybe, see, that's why I
yes,
said, sir,
madam. Yes, madam.
5 semesters now. We started with very small element. We started looking at short stories to start with.
Yes, madam.
Then now we have now inculcated as a part of our curriculum now. Going forward,
Yes,
I'm sure the students will start writing research papers out of that. And that's
yes,
where the
madam.
real learning happens.
Yes,
So
madam.
that's going to be great.
Any stone in India will teach tons of history, madam. Any stone, actually, any stone, madam.
Correct.
And thank you so much for the organizers for conducting a wonderful workshop, madam. And don't think otherwise, madam. Just actually, with the permission of sir, just I think we will get your resource person's email IDs also for any future things.
Yeah, we will share all these things with the material.
Once again, thank you very much, madam, and thank you, Madan sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to organizers. May I exit?
Thank you so much, ma'am. If you can spend some 5 minutes, if you have, we have a small valedictory session.
Sure.
And we are closing after that.
Sure. Thank you.
You can start, sir. Yeah.
Sure.
It's with a great joy and fulfillment that we gather today to conclude the 2 weeks online workshop on reviewing India's traditional knowledge system to strengthen the human capital for the 21st century. As we reflect on our journey, I reminded of Swami Vivekananda's words, education is the manifestations of the perfection already in man. This workshop over the past 2 weeks has truly been a manifestation of that perfection. How India's timeless knowledge can enrich not only our understanding, but also our collective future. Thank you, ma'am. I now invite our principal, Dr. Prasanna Rajesh Kumar, to felicitate the workshop gathering. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, MOC. Thank you. And I thank each and every one of you for a wonderful session and interactions well. On behalf of KSR College of Arts and Science and of my own, it's my pleasure to deliver this valedictory address. So, distinguished today's the resource person, esteemed participant and MOC, as we are in the verge of this workshop, we are going to conclude the 2 weeks online workshop on Indian knowledge system. I am honored to express my heartfelt gratitude to each and one of you for being an integral part of this journey. Over the past 2 weeks, we have embarked on an incredible exploration of Indian rich culture and heritage, dwelling into the parts of our ancient traditions, philosophies, and wisdoms, from Vedas to Upanishads, and from Ayurvedas to yoga. We have uncovered timeless relevance of our indigenous knowledge system. This workshop has not only broadened our understanding, but also instilled a sense of pride and appreciation for our roots. We have learned from the best, and I am grateful to our esteemed faculty members for sharing their expertise and insights. That was really valuable for the past 2 weeks. To all the participants, I commend your dedication, enthusiasm, and active engagement. Your curiosity and passion have made this workshop truly an enriching experience. As we bid adieu to this workshop, I hope the knowledge and perspective gained will inspire you to integrate these timeless principles in your daily lives and your professional life. Let's try to preserve, promote, and pass this precious heritage to future generations. Thank you and wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to invite Dr. V.B. Malni, Head Department of English, to present the summary of this workshop.
Good evening, one and all present here. In a world that is constantly evolving, we often overlook the wisdom that has stood the test of time. True knowledge is that which leads to liberation, a timeless saying that resonates. Course of 2 enlightening weeks, this online workshop embarked on a profound exploration of India's traditional knowledge system, drawing inspiration from ancient texts, spiritual practices, and holistic science to nurture human capital for the future. I'm exhilarated to present the summary of this 2-week workshop, which we delved into the richness of India's ancient knowledge, reawakening the transformative potential for the 21st century. As the wheel of wisdom spin through each session, participants were guided by a series of expert speakers and thoughtful leaders who unveiled the vast potential of IKS to not only empower individuals but also foster a harmonious society. The journey began with Dr. Sripath H. Galki, who beautifully articulated that yoga is the art of living harmoniously with oneself and the universe, emphasizing yoga as a transformative practice for emotional resilience and holistic well-being. Dr. Pratima Kandewale followed, revealing that food is not just fuel, it is a transformation of the body, sharing the wisdom embedded in Indian traditional foods as a cornerstone of health and cultural continuity. The third day, Professor M.G. Sethuraman imparted valuable strategies for integrating India's rich traditional knowledge system into modern curricula, suggesting that education is the manifestation of perfection already in man. A quote by Swami Vivekananda to illustrate potential of Indian knowledge system to enhance contemporary learning. Next, Dr. Sarat Chandra Kandekar then enriched the discussion with the timeless wisdom of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, demonstrating that mind is everything. When you think, you become a teacher. That applies not only to spirituality but to personal growth and mental resilience. The workshop continued with Srinath Mohandas, who reflected on how Indian knowledge system can bridge the gap between ancient tradition and modern academic needs. The theme of relevance through the ages was further explored by Dr. Vignesh Chaitanya, who said the past is not a shadow, but foundation upon the future stands, illustrating how Indic that addresses the challenges of 21st century. In the domain of science, Dr. Sri Sujit E. explored the convergence of Ayurveda and modern biology, bringing to light the idea that body is a temple, Ayurveda is its scripture. Dr. Fascinating narrative on the robotics of ancient India, showing how innovation is born from tradition, which shed light on the country's historical contributions to science and technology. Next, Dr. K.P. Nachimuthu, in his session on Trigunas and personality psychology, reminded us that to know oneself is the beginning of all wisdom, a principle that is rooted deeply in both the Vedic text and modern psychological theories. The workshop psychological depth was amplified by Dr. Nachiketa Tiwari, who elaborated the timeless features of Hindu civilization, affirming that the essence of life is not found in material pursuit, but in the spiritual search for meaning. His insights actually highlighted the adaptability and inclusiveness of Hindu philosophy, showing that it is relevant today, that is as relevant today, 1,000 years ago. In the realm of healthcare, Dr. Praveen Bade demonstrated how personalized medicine through Ayurveda is a cutting edge model for the future, aligning with the thought that health is the greatest gift, contentment the greatest wealth, a principle central to Ayurvedic thought and practice. Dr. Divyapriya brought forth the significance of India's ancient economic practices, noting that truth wealth lies in ethics, sustainability, and these principles should guide modern commerce. As the workshop approached the conclusion, Dr. S.R. Madan Shankar connected environmental conservation with ancient myth, revealing that nature doesn't hurry, everything is accomplished, a reminder that sustainable living is both a cultural and scientific imperative. The last day, Professor Dr. Bhavani wrapped up Indic wisdom, showing that leadership is not about being in charge, it is about taking care of those who are in charge. An insight that calls for more compassionate, values, and driven approach to leadership, which deserves mention. In this journey of 2 weeks through India's treasure trove of ancient wisdom, we were reminded of knowledge that liberates and knowledge that transcends time and speaks to the eternal quest for truth, balance, and unity. This workshop was not just a revival of traditional system, but a reawakening of the profound holistic insights that can shape our future. As we look forward, let us remember that knowledge is the light that guides us and wisdom is the compass that shows us way. Thank you for all the participants and presence and organizers, making this workshop a true celebration of India's timeless wisdom. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It's my privilege to invite Dr. Madan Shankar, who has been an integral part of the success of this workshop, to deliver the vote of thanks. We welcome you, sir.
I think before that, I would like to hear something from the participants. If participants want to share some feedback or some suggestions, you are open. You can unmute and share your feedbacks for the improvement of the program.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Madam, you can continue. Next, I will talk.
Hello. Good evening, sir. Lokeshwari Rathod.
Good evening, madam. Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. I would like to express my thanks and appreciation to acknowledge the effort of the organizing committee who have made this workshop great success on the online platform. Surely we will take it forward from here. The knowledge gained through this workshop, as IKS, we will implement it in our domain. Through this workshop, we gain knowledge about practicality of IKS, its implementation in day-to-day teaching. And once again, I thank you so much, all organizing committee, for enlightening sessions. And thank you, Madan sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, ma'am.
Sir, Dr. Rajalakshmi, sir. Sir, with your permission, I would like to share a few points about the workshop, sir.
Please go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Thank you, sir. Good evening to all. I am Dr. Rajalakshmi, Assistant Professor, Department of Tamil, Konganad Arts and Science College. The topic has now become widely discussed, and the way it is being related to your academic field is truly commendable. Beginning from the Vedas and encompassing science, even extending to commerce, the inclusive and eliminating approach taken here is especially relevant to the present times. I'm grateful to coordinator for the giving a great opportunity to participate in the 14 days workshop. Listening to the thoughts shared by various distinguished speakers has made me realize that there is still so much for us to learn. A wealth of traditional knowledge is available in the Tamil as literature also. During these few days, I found myself comparing the insights shared in this program with Sangam literature. I was particularly impressed, not only the particularly, all the sessions were impressive sessions, particularly in the 2 or 3 research domains is related to my topic and the interesting research topic discussed. These are many takeaways from the workshops that I believe should be shared with our students also. As the Tamil Tirukkural, one Tirukkural says, "Uwappa Thalaikudi Ulla Piridal Anethe Pulavar Tolil." It means gathering with the joy and parting in sorrow is the essence of scholarly life. This statement is aptly fit to this moment because I felt very bad. Tomorrow onwards, the session is not there. The sessions will no longer continue. So I hope the coordinators will continue to organize more such valuable programs in this future. Finally, I extended my sincere thanks to K.S.Rangasamy College of Arts and Science and to the Madan sir to give a great opportunity to take part in this 14 days workshops. Thank you, sir.
சார் வணக்கம், தத்தாத்ரேயன்.
வணக்கம் சார்.
தமிழ்லயே சொல்லிடுறேன் சார். முதல் பாயிண்ட், அந்த டீம் செலக்ட் பண்ணினது ரொம்ப
தேங்க்யூ சார்.
மூணாவது செலக்ஷன். பேசின எல்லாம் செலக்ட் பண்ண விதம் இருக்கு, எப்படி எக்ஸலண்டான செலக்ஷன். அதுக்கப்புறம் அவங்க ப்ரெசென்ட் பண்ண விதம் ஒவ்வொருத்தரும் ரொம்ப இன்டெப்தா கொடுத்துருந்தாங்க. எஸ்பெஷலி அந்த அசஸ்மெண்ட்டை ரொம்ப பாராட்டணும். நான் அந்த குரூப்ல கூட போட்டிருந்தேன். அசஸ்மெண்ட்ல இந்த கொஸ்டின்ஸ் வந்து இந்த யூஜிசி நெட்டுக்கு ப்ரிப்பேர் பண்ற மாதிரி இருந்தது. எக்ஸலண்டான ஒரு ஸ்டாண்டர்டா எடுத்திருந்தாங்க. அது உண்மையிலேயே ரொம்ப பாராட்டணும். அந்த அசைன்மெண்ட் கொடுத்த டாபிக்கு எனக்கு அது கண்டுபிடிக்கிறதுக்கு, யோசனை பண்றதுக்கே ரொம்ப நேரம் ஆயிடுச்சு. எப்படி இந்த மாதிரி சிந்திக்க முடியுது அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு அவுட் ஆஃப் த பாக்ஸ் திங்க் பண்ணி ரொம்ப நல்லா பண்ணியிருக்கீங்க சார். இது வந்து என்னுடைய ஜஸ்ட் ஒரு சஜஷன். இது ஒரு டிப்ளமோ கோர்ஸோ இல்லைன்னா ஒரு ஷார்ட் டேர்ம் பிஜி டிப்ளமோ மாதிரியோ ஒரு ஆன்லைன் கோர்ஸ் மாதிரியோ ஐகேஎஸ் நம்ம பண்ணினா இது ரொம்ப யூஸ்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கும் வருங்காலத்துல. ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம் சார். இதே மாதிரியான நல்ல விஷயங்களை தொடர்ந்து செய்வோம். ஜெய் ஹிந்த்.
தேங்க்யூ சார். தேங்க்யூ.
Sorry, any other sir?
Anybody?
Good evening, sir. May I?
Yes, please.
Yes, good evening.
First of all, I would like to thank everyone, the organizing team, Madan sir, for giving a vast knowledge regarding our Indic wisdom. Maybe I would like to tell about something about me, because coming from the generation Y, I think, and studying during what we were being taught, it was totally the management concepts, motivation, leadership, everything was taught to us. But when it comes to the basic knowledge which is being today, what we are learning, joining it with the our literature, like we can say Bhagavad Gita, and that part, it is totally new for me. And new for me, yes, we are teaching, but we are just teaching as a subject, and now we are in under NEP, we are just adding it as a VAC, value added food. We are just taking a 2 credit where just we are adding this value rate. And what Bhavani ma'am said, I would it gave me a knowledge to increase my knowledge regarding this area, that we can launch it as in major subjects in management also. And summing up what I have learned from this, I think Pratima Khandelwal ma'am has focused the way she engaged us we on the online platform. That was a very interesting for me. And Shripad sir, who gave a wholesome knowledge about the self-development and the universal learning, universal harmony, that is through yoga. Dr. Sarath Chandra sir, who has focused on the mind management by just the Bhagavad Gita and the chanting, by which we can come out of our stress, or maybe increase our focus on our self-development. And the thing I learned from Srinath Mohandas sir, that a very good pedagogical teaching method which he discussed with us, and somewhat I'm also using in my teaching, like storytelling and case studies, which is a new we are being using in our classes. Dr. Vignesh sir's bird eye view, and some more Madan Shankar sir environmental topic, robotics, decoding of the Ayurvedic biology, trigunas, modern psychology. Sir, I must say it was totally new to me when it comes to the from the commerce background. And in future, I would like to work on these topics and would like to work on my research area, so that maybe what we have not gone through, maybe I can just say I was not a part of it, of this Indian knowledge system. But now I have an interest and want to learn more about things. My suggestion is only that maybe it can be, the particular areas can be touched with the topic discussion, so that we can learn and more with the examples. Because it was told about, everyone was telling about the yoga, Ayurveda, at all things. These are being known to us. But actual example of Bhagavad Gita's particular thing, when it is being discussed, it would be a beneficial for me in the future also. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Okay. If we don't have any other feedback, I think we'll be circulating a feedback form to all of you, along with the assessment 2. Assessment 2 is still not released. It will be released by tomorrow morning. Complete the assessment 2 along with the feedback, and then you will be receiving your certificates, which will be posted in the drive, and you can download it from the drive. It's my pleasure to propose the vote of thanks for this wonderful 2-week workshop. So I should tell you that at the moment when we asked Dr. Prasanna, he readily accepted to be the organizer. And I'm happy, and I accord a very sincere gratitude to the KSR College of Arts and Science, Dr. Prasanna and his team, secretary, and the top management for giving us a lot of permission and liberty to do this program in a very nice way. I should also very wholeheartedly acknowledge the excellent support rendered by Dr. Suresh and his team, who have been behind the screen, coordinating the online platform, doing the recordings and things like that. We really appreciate your efforts. I also thank all the resource persons. They were not resource persons, they were truly erudite people who have shared their experience and expertise so that it becomes a transformative journey for each one of us who have attended this program. And we also have takeaway messages from each lecture series. And fortunate that I also got an opportunity to meet you all yesterday, because one of the speakers dropped off in between due to unforeseen circumstances. So I should thank Almighty for giving me an opportunity to share my little thoughts with all of you. And I should thank specifically the team from Rashmivat and also the entire team from KSRCAS for giving a wonderful support, for having done this program very well. I wanted to acknowledge a few people here, the participants in particular, particularly Dr. Chandramohan, Mr. Gokul Sharma, Dr. Rajalakshmi, and I think a few of you. I cannot name them because they were really participating almost every day. Their interactions were almost every day, and their interactions also gave new insight into the different topics that we discussed every day. So my appreciations and my thanks to all the participants who have joined. In general, we had a total of 129 registered participants. The attendance ranged between 90 to 100 for the first week. Second week, it was between 60 and 80, I believe. So I think this is another important message which as teachers we need to take back. Once we are committed to something, we should see that we are attending it. We are doing it to our fullest commitment. So I think as teachers, this is something which we need to take away, not from what the lectures are given, but this is what our tradition used to be. Our tradition used to be punctuality, discipline, and very, very structured way of doing things, and a very organized and meticulous way of planning and execution. This was our tradition. So I think we should uphold this tradition and see in the future programs, we are cautious and we are meticulous enough to see that we attend the entire session. Of course, there will be hiccups, one or two sessions we may miss out, but we should see that we attend all the sessions. Thank you all the participants. And Rashmivat EduTech is open to all of you. We do a lot of programs like this. And if you're interested to collaborate with us, you can contact us. I will share the mail address to you. You can also go to our website and see the kind of activities that we are doing, rashmivathedutech.com. You can see the different kind of activities that we do. And if you're interested to collaborate with us, either as a participant or as a resource person, please do mail us to our mail address. We will get back to you. And if you are interested to take up some small mini projects and things like that in IKS, we are ready to support you in all possible ways. So I again accord my sincere sense of gratitude, thanks, and pranams to all the participants and the resource persons for making this event a memorable one. We will share all the videos of the lectures along with the material after we get permission from the resource persons. I feel it is highly ethical on our part to take appropriate permission from the resource persons and then share it to all of you. But definitely all the resource persons will definitely not say a no. So having that confidence in mind, I would again assure you that all the materials will be shared to you, and you are at liberty to contact KSRCAS and Rashmivat for any possible help that we can be of use to all of you in your teaching learning, so as to empower the 21st generation learners so that they contribute greatly to Viksit Bharat. Thank you so much. Have a nice day, has nice evening. As I told you, we will be sharing the assessment number 3 latest by tomorrow morning. It will close in 24 hours. That is on 29th. We will be closing it. So after that, after you fill your feedback and the forms, you will be getting your certificates done. Yeah, your certificates will be issued within 7 days of time. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much, sir. Beautiful session.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Sir, last submission. Is there any possibility of we are getting some this email IDs of not only resource persons like Gokul Sharma ji, like that, of course. So
we will share it.
We
will share all those details along with the material.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this group will remain active. We are not going to delete this group. This group will remain active. Nice. So each of you can interact if you are practicing something new, or if you are having some if you have implemented something after this workshop, please do share it in the group so that every other people can know it.
Yes.
And also, this group is again a resourceful group. Any university, any college, or any institution who wants any resource person, you can contact this group, because now this group is an empowered group. So this group will remain active in the coming days as well. Thank you so much.
We should be involved in the upcoming next programs also, as earlier you have said that maybe some physical programs. Physical attendance or some. Yes, sir. Thank you very much for all the participants, and for you, sir, giving a wonderful opportunity for us to go for a deeper insights and actually to change the situation. Thank you very much, sir. Once again, all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Really.
Thank you, sir, for organizing this workshop. Has been instrumental.
Oh, one thing I forgot to tell. The MC was very, very nice. And today I must appreciate Professor Malini for having stitched the entire 2-week-long program into a very, very beautiful report. I think that report conveys the gist of all the lectures. Thank you so much.
With a melodious voice also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It's my honor.
With a melodious voice also.
Very true.
Thank you. So I take you all. Bye-bye. Hope to see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Actually, I just wanted to add that never seen, or I couldn't even conceive such a brilliantly converging workshop wherein you have everything from robotics, from a brahmachari talking about the limits of imagination being pushed, and that being practical, and research that can be driven in that direction, because you need to push your mind for your research to make breakthroughs. So that is one element of this. And Ayurveda itself had two people, one as a practitioner of scientific R&D, and another person who wanted the system to adapt in the indigenous approach. So the same subject from different people, the food was discussed in multiple dimensions. All aspects had more than one dimension in the whole workshop. And we had a person discuss on commerce, we had a person discuss on management today. So it was a very, very wholesome and integrated workshop, and everyone who discussed was an exponent in their own field. And I think thank you for not dissolving this group, because it's going to be a very highly resourceful group going forward. And thank you for the special note of mention, and Sir Chandramohanji, and anyone who wish to remain in touch, and definitely open. And I would also like to explore possibilities as life flows. Thank you for the organizers. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, sir. Last words, sir.
Thank you.
So just after ending this program, it looks like actually one Disaptaha, like the Bhagavata Saptaha, 1 week. Disaptaha is going to end, of course. Every day accustomed for just 5:30 sharply and whatnot. And tomorrow maybe it is. I think that once again we are sitting on and mailing to Madan Shankarji, sir, what is today's topic, like that? I don't know. So such wonderful impact on us, sir. Thank you very much, organizers, and some wonderful participants are also Gopalji, and so all the people behind this work. And thanks for Dr. Rajalakshmi, who has introduced me into this actually by sending the circular also to me. Of course, immediately I have joined. Of course, thank you one and all. Thank you one and all. And I wish that all we should meet once again in the future with further more discussions. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Dhanyawad.
Dhanyawad, sir. Dhanyawad. Thank you.
Now, in this beautiful session, I would like to thank Dr. Shankar. Your contribution to the organization this workshop have been instrumental, and we are grateful for your dedication, sir. As a closing note, as we bring this remarkable 2 weeks journey to a close, I would like to leave you with the thoughts from Rabindranath Tagore. The highest education is that which does not merely give us information, but make our life in harmony with all the existence. Let us carry forward the insight and knowledge we have gained in this workshop and apply them in our lives and work strengthening of you human. Together, may we continue to review and uphold the previous knowledge of our ancestors, creating a world in this only advanced technology, but rich in wisdom and compassion. Thank you all for your participation, and I wish you the very best in our future endeavors. We're looking forward to the staying connected and continuing this beautiful journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.